is compute. Okay, so we are just starting a new project which we've been talking about actually, and we have seen the data set, and it's a computer company's data set. They have given us the data set, and they've also given us the overview, the objective. Okay, and if we link that to our project data analytics lifecycle, which is this slide here, we will let me look for the, yes, this life cycle here. So we say the life cycle of your work as a data analyst will start with you getting the objective, the problems to solve. In this case, the problem we are solving has been given in this document here. Okay, we are developing a dashboard that will show this information. And then we need to understand the data, which means we have to get the data that we need, and whatever we are given, is it going to be enough? So this is where we spend time to study the data set we've been given, identify that there's no data quality issues. If there is, we sort them out, okay? We identify which of these columns here will stand for fact table and which one will be dimension when we build our data model, okay? And in all of that, we document the process, okay? In this case, we are being asked here, what is the project name, okay? So this is how this was developed, you can develop it the way you want. This was a template I think we developed in class at some point last year, okay? In the case of the current project, this will be a computer company dashboard creation. That's the name of the project. Which date did we initiate it? It was sometime last week, I believe, that we initiated it. Who was it prepared by? We can just put our class there. Who are the stakeholders? It will be us and whoever we are building it for, or the business at large, or the team that will be using it. What's the purpose? To solve certain business problems. What are the expected deliverables? What are we are expected to deliver a dashboard, basically. Okay. Then we can just copy and paste all of the questions here that we are going to answer. We can copy and paste them into this session where it says business needs or business objectives. What are the objectives? Okay. I think we used this before where it says what are the top performing products this quarter. So we'll just paste over this. Where is our data source coming from? Okay, if there's a database where you got the data from, or from a particular team, we can document that here. Data preparation steps. So all the steps that we will perform within Power Query, we'll document them here. If you sorted out data types, if you added any extra column with a calculation, okay, if you had to remove columns, okay, the duplicates that you removed from it, everything we document on here. When this was used last, we are saying that we remove duplicates and nulls from the sales record. We standardize our dates format. Maybe the date was appearing in a weird way before, so we standardized it. We merged product code with across the data set. That was done before. So we can, whatever we do now is what we'll document here. And what is the tool or technologies that we are using? Okay, for the last project that this template was used for, it was Power BI, Excel, and SQL Server. In our case, we're going to be putting probably just Power BI because that's what we are going to use. we're not really working within Excel, so we won't include Excel there, and so on and so forth. So I would encourage us to document the process when you are on your own and you're creating your own project, when you're doing your own assignment or whatever it is we do in class that you want to recreate for yourself. It's good to develop the habit, of using this, because we are always so eager to get on the job and get our hands dirty. We don't do this. That's just the truth, but it's not safe, because one, it is for your own good. You would remember the things you forget, that you could easily forget while, um, creating the dashboard or doing the project. It's so easy to forget. Why did I do this step like this? What was I thinking when I did this? So easy. But you can refer back to the document. That's one good reason to document your process. Another good reason is, in case you leave that role and they've employed a new person who would be inheriting the report from you. It's always good for them to have something to fall back on, so they can pick your brain and see what you have done and why you have done what you have done. And then it will be easy for them to continue maintaining that report or that dashboard, for the business. Okay. So that is that about this document. I may not refer to it in class so that we can speed up our work, okay? But I would want to see us use it, okay? So again, we are used to this data set. So I'm going to close it now, and then we can load it into Power BI and start the work which we couldn't really do last week. Okay, I've dropped the link for Power BI download, Power BI desktop download. I've dropped it within a data platform and within the chat here. So if you don't have Power BI desktop already, it will be necessary to get it so that you can proceed with this work. I'm just opening up my Power BI. If you see my cursor, I've pinned it to the taskbar down here. So I just clicked on it and it's brought us here. Okay. Now, if you look, if I scroll down, we can see the most recent report that I opened. Okay, I've looked into this reports which are within my system. That's why you have them within the recent. It says recent, so it's given us that. And the ones that have been shared with me, none has been shared with me. Okay, so there's nothing there. Okay, so normally it would bring the list of any newest or recently opened Power BI. But we are going to need a blank report because we are about to start a new project. Okay. So, and now it brings us to this blank page. This is what it looks like. Very similar to what we have for other Microsoft products as well. Okay, you have the file, the home, insert, and a few buttons up there. And under each button, like file, you'll see home, open, save as, just like you would get within your Microsoft products. Under options and settings, you have options, you have data source settings. Data source settings takes you to the point where you can work with your data source. Again, this is showing the most recent ones I've visited, which was quite a long while ago, actually. Global permission, data sources in current use. I haven't used any data source yet, so there isn't any data source here, but that's what you have within the data source setting. It just allows you to manage your data source, the settings and whatever you want to see. And then we have options. Options, again, like you have in many Microsoft products. Options just opens you to so many things you can, functions rather, that you can do, perform here. It says there is a global change you can make. Under global, whatever change you make here would be applicable to every Power BI file that you use. But if the change you need is just to be within the current file, okay, then in that case, we should be making the change here. Okay, for example, data load. How do you want your data to be loaded? Do you want when you bring your data in, do you want column type to be automatically detected for unstructured sources? Okay, so you can check and uncheck as you want within here, but it's good to understand what you are checking and unchecking. Under regional setting, okay, some would different countries with different settings. So ours obviously is United Kingdom. Okay, auto recovery. It says disable auto recovery. So if we click that, it won't auto recover files for us. Okay. There's quite a few on here as well, but there are similar functions which you may need or you may not need, but it's nice to play around what that is all about. Okay, then we have the home. Under home, we have all of these functions below. Okay, we have the get data, which is really very important to us. You know, right now, get data, like the name implies, you're using it to get your data. Okay, and for Power BI, you are either getting data from different outside external sources to bring it into Power BI, or you could actually create a data set within Power BI, manually within Power BI as well. Okay, if we click the drop down, we see so many data sources. It says common data sources. These are the common ones that it has listed here, but there's more. Okay, so if whichever one you want to use is not here, you just click on more and it brings you to so many options of data sources. Okay. Again, you won't even necessarily use half of this, to be honest. Okay, so but then let's talk through a few. You have Excel, you have text file, you have XML, JSON, you have folder. If you are bringing in a whole folder into Power BI, you'll be clicking on folder. You have PDF. I don't know how to pronounce that. For work, you'll be using a lot of SharePoint because jobs or organizations use SharePoint a lot. So if it's a SharePoint folder, you are bringing it in, you'll use that. If it's just a file, you use a SharePoint file, online list, I believe. And then SQL Server, you know, some data you need to retrieve from a SQL Server database. So that's when you would click on that. For some, it will be Access database. So whichever one you require, for some, it will be the Oracle database. Most of what you would need. For some, it will be the web. Okay, under online service. Okay, I believe we have the web. You may want to bring data from a particular web or even from SharePoint. Sometimes for SharePoint, I use web. If my SharePoint online list is messing me about. But you would always need to sign in, you know, to use some of these services. Of course, if you were picking Excel, it would be Excel that's within your folder on your system. Okay, so you may not need to sign into those ones. Okay, but for some databases here, you would need your work email, just for data security purposes, so that you are accessing what you're bringing in what you should actually be having access to. You know, that's the essence of the signing in. Okay, so you could, you know, use that get data that way. Okay, if you're bringing in Excel and you don't want to go that route, to use it to bring it in from here, you can also bring it in using this Excel workbook. Okay, So for most of the data sources you have here, you also have a few here as well. Okay, we have what is called the One Lake catalog, and these are the data sources under it. Okay, we have the SQL Server here again, which we saw earlier on here before SQL Server. Okay, we have the enter data. Okay, and like again, like the name implies, you are entering data manually by yourself. So you can easily type what's your column name. You can add more columns. Okay, just by clicking, you can add information, add what the data is, and just create. Okay, and then you just load it, and that table is created. You give it a name here, of course, and that's how you create your own manual table within this using enter data. Okay, so I'm not going to dwell too much. I think because I believe we have recordings on introduction to Power BI already. If not, then we'll probably do one, but for the purpose of the project that we are starting, I'm just going to load the data that we need to use. Okay. At the moment, we see on top here, it says Untitled Power BI Desktop, because we don't, it's a new, it's a new file. We haven't saved it yet. Okay. Okay, so if I click on Excel Workbook, and I believe I saved these under SoftNet. I use SoftNet under SoftNet Computer, yes, computer company. So I'll open that, and it's connecting us to the data source. Now it opens up this navigator, okay? And the navigator just shows us, gives us like a preview of what you have, okay? The table we saw earlier when I opened it in Excel, that's exactly what is showing us here now, okay? So it's showing us as a table and as a range, a table, not a table range, just a range of data. Okay, within Excel, you either convert your table to table. If you haven't converted it to table, it's just a range of data. Okay, so the top is saying table, and the other one is saying sheet. Okay, but it's the same information. It's just brought them in two forms. I suspect because within that Excel, it was converted, the information there was converted to table. Okay. So, and if you observe, I'm clicking on each one, and it's showing us what it looks like. You can scroll to the right just to see more of what is there. Okay. A school of thought would say it's better to load the table. Another school of thought says it's better to load the sheet, but I don't really, I won't really bother with whichever one you load. They are both the same thing anyway. One may require that you do more work than the other, but yeah. So I'll uncheck the sheet one and bring in the table one. Okay. And if you follow my cursor, just below here, it says we've got three options of what to do after checking, because you have to check. If you don't check this, all these are grayed out except the cancel. Okay, so but we check it, and then those two, they lighten up. So you either load the data directly, or you click on transform data. Now, if I click on load, it means I believe that my data is fine. I don't need to do any cleaning work or any transformation work on it. I can just load and start my analytics work. Okay, that's what load stands for. But if I feel like I still need to look through this data and be sure that data types are what they should be, numeric data is what it should be. Is there any duplicates that I need to take care of and all of that? I would have to click on transform data. That is, I need to transform this data. And if I feel like, okay, I'm not doing this work anymore, I don't want to load anything or whatever, I'll click on cancel. Okay, so in this case, we want to check and do some work with, some transformation work in the data. So we'll click on transform data. Okay, and immediately we click on transform data, there's a new page that opens. Now we have two pages of Power BI. One is the Power BI you started with. Again, if you follow my cursor down to my Power BI logo on the taskbar, you see, while it's on it, it's open two pages. One page, this is the one we started with, okay? But immediately we clicked on transform data, it's opened what we call the Power Query Editor, okay? Now, Power Query Editor, you would find it within Power BI and also within Excel, okay? And it's a powerful machine for automating data transformation work that you have done. Any cleaning or changes you have made within your data, each time a new data is added to your data source, you wouldn't need to come back and manually change anything anymore, okay? The process just takes care of itself. That is the power of Power Query Editor, okay? So we are within the Power Query Editor now, and you can liken it to probably the kitchen where all the cooking, cutting, washing takes place before the food is ready, and then we take it to the dining for eating. So you can say Power Query Editor is the kitchen where all the cooking gets done, while Power BI itself is the dining table where we get to eat the food. Okay, that's a kind of a logical reasoning to try and understand it. Okay, so when you bring your data into Power Query Editor, when it opens, you can see it's still very, the buttons or the functions are still very similar to what you have in any Microsoft product. Okay, we can see we are having file, home, transform, add column, and all those functions, okay, which are very, very useful. They make the job easy for us, okay? Again, file is, as we've seen it before, you can close and apply. Close and apply means everything I've done here, I need to come out of here now and go into Power BI. Close everything and apply the changes into Power BI for me. Okay, that's the meaning of close and apply under file. Okay, and apply means don't close this, just apply the changes I've made. Okay, and close means just close, no need to apply. Save is what it is, save as, and under options and settings, exactly what we saw earlier, options and data source setting. Most of the time, you don't necessarily need more than your close and apply within, when you are within Power Query, to be honest, okay? And maybe, peradventure, you need to load more data after bringing this in. There is, all those buttons there. Maybe you want to bring data from a new source. There's more to bring in. And again, you can click on more and it brings all of those lists we saw earlier. That's if you're bringing it in more, okay? And if you're bringing in from a recent source, this is the most recent source, Softnet Computer Company data, okay? That's our most recent. These are the other ones I've used in recent times, okay? And if you want to enter data like we saw earlier, data source settings, if you want to change your data source setting, if I click on that, this is where the current data we have loaded is coming from my OneDrive. Okay, so that's the path to it. So peradventure, I change the file location. If I move that file from my desktop At the moment, it's within the desktop. If I move it from desktop to maybe documents, then Power Query won't be able to fetch it for us anymore until I come here. One of the ways to do it, not just the only way. So until I come here and change that data source to something, to the new source, okay? So that's what we have. And of course, you can edit permissions, which we don't need to do now either. But yeah, you can, adjust the permissions within this part. Okay. Manage parameters is a bit of a higher level for us now. We don't need it. Okay. You can manually refresh your data if there's a new data source. A new set of data, maybe 1,000 more rows of data have been added to this table. We click on this refresh and it just refresh. It brings them in as well. Okay. There's a few more. We have the advanced editor. Properties just tells us the properties. Okay. What name of the table? At the moment, we have it as table 1. We haven't given it a new name. We can change it here, or we can change it on the table 1 here, okay? Description, we didn't give it any description, but yeah, you can write a few lines here or 1 line, okay, if you want, okay? Advanced editor, this is where Power BI or Power Query writes behind the scene. It generates the code, instead of you manufacturing the code yourself. You just do what you need to do, and it turns your steps, your process into these codes here, okay, which we don't need to disturb ourselves about just yet. Okay, at some point, it would be nice to see how this works and how we can use it to our advantage. But it's just this simple, okay, forget about the let's. It's just telling us that the source of this table, this data set is Excel workbook. That's what it is. It's a file content, and that's the file path that we use to get it. Then it's just adding null and true and closing the bracket. Okay, then it's going on to give it a name, source, item type table, all those jargons that may not necessarily make sense to us just here. Then it's telling us, okay, now each of what we see here are related to where my cursor is now, where it says applied steps. Okay, applied steps, every step we are applying, everything we do is being recorded on this applied step. And as it's recorded here, it's generated as a code, here as well. Okay. So that's what the advanced editor is all about. Okay. If I'm creating another report, maybe another file, and I'm needing to use exactly this table and do exactly what has been done here. And I don't want to go through the stress of manually starting everything all over again. I can just come into the advanced editor of this one, copy it and paste it into my new report, and everything will be generated for me because it's been done before. Okay, that's the beauty of the advanced editor. But like I said, that's not something we want to really concern ourselves with just yet. At some point, we will. Where it says manage, okay, you can decide to delete it. You can duplicate it and you can reference it, this table. Okay, the difference between duplicate and reference, the similarity first. Similarity is you are making a copy, of this. Okay, if I decide to duplicate, it creates another table. Exactly like the first one. But because within Power Query, tables can't bear exactly the same name. It won't just say table 1 and then that one is also table 1. It's putting a 2 in front of it to differentiate, okay? So that's how duplicate works. It creates a new copy, and if I click on table 1, see all the applied steps, there's 3 steps that have been applied. since we brought it in, okay, automatically, by the way. It's not like we've done much. All we've done is we went to get data, it brought us to the navigator, and we chose the table, and it automatically changed the data types, which is auto intelligence or something that Power Query does, and Power BI as well. It picks that this is the type of data that this should be, okay? And it just automatically changes it to what it believes that it should be. But our job is to go in and check each of the columns and be sure that it got it right. That's what you want to call it, okay? Now, if we click on table 2 as well, those 3 steps are what we have. So now for duplicates, this table 1 becomes independent of table 2, or rather table 2, which is the copy, is not dependent on table 1. Meaning that if I decide to, for example, now, I decide to click on this column on the top of it and remove it, I right click and say, I want to remove order date from the table 1. If I go into table 2, order date is still there. It's not removed from there, which means this second table, the copy, is not relying on table 1. And one thing I want us to notice, immediately I removed that column, a new step has been added onto here. Remember, all we had before was change type. Now we have removed columns, which is what I did. Okay, so that step has been added on. Now for Power Query, our steps that we perform are recorded under apply steps. And that's because we don't have the undo button. You know how you will click on something on top here where it says undo, and undo the last step. We don't have it, okay? But as we have the apply steps, you can easily come and remove a step you don't want anymore. For example, I'm saying, okay, I didn't want to remove that column, or let me delete that. So my order date is back. So that's also something to note, okay? Now, if I still on this table, under manage, we have seen how duplicate works. Let's see how reference works. If I click on reference, now reference also creates a copy of the table 1. And for the same reason, it's put a 3 on top of it, beside it rather, okay? Just to ensure that tables are not bearing exactly the same name, okay? So we have that, but if we refer back to table 1, like we saw before, there's 3 steps under applied step. But when we clicked on duplicates, those 3 steps were maintained. And when we now did a reference, if we come to reference, we have only one step, and the step is source. And if we come to the formula bar here, it's saying that the source equals table 1. That is, the source of this table is this table. We made this table from this table. So table 3, table 1, 3 in bracket, is very dependent on table 1. It is feeding from table 1. So anything that happens to table 1, let me remove this order dates like I did before. If I remove order dates now, okay, now table 2, which is not dependent, it still got its order date. Nothing happened. But if we come to table, this one, that order date got removed as well. So anything that happens to table 1, that you do on table 1, would happen to this as well. So this is where you have to now think deep. When you are creating a copy, you want to decide, should I be using reference or duplicates? This factor is necessary to consider. Do I want my new table to be dependent on the first? Is that okay? Then I'll use reference. Do I want it not to depend on the first table? Then I will use duplicate. I hope that makes sense to us. Okay. Am I still in class? We're going to round up in a second. Am I still in class? Am I still?
Yes.
Okay. So that's how we bring our data in Those are the different data sources that we have for Power BI. And we've seen a few functions, how they work. But I think we dwell more on making examples of whether you duplicate or you reference a table, okay? One thing we haven't done yet, though, it's always good practice to give your table a proper name, a name that would confer what it means, okay? Before we proceed, let me remove this. We need that date. Let me remove this step, okay? Immediately I do that again, if you come back here, you see the other date is back here again, okay? So let's give it a proper name that reflects exactly what it is. It is a computer sales data. Okay, so computer sales data. I can put data on there, okay? You just press enter or you click out, okay? Now that is one way to change the name of your table. If you don't want to do that, you can right click. So for this one, I'll right click. And under right click, you got quite a few. You can make a copy, you can delete, you can rename, and so on. I'm going to click on rename, and it highlights it like that, okay? And I'm going to call it duplicates, because that's how we created it, okay? We may decide to delete it in the end if it's not going to be useful for us. But for now, we'll keep it. And I'll right click and call this one reference, okay? Okay. All right. Okay. So those are, now we haven't gone into looking at the data types, but very quickly, 2 minutes, let's see if 2 minutes will do it for us. I'll come back to our actual data. Okay, we have other dates. And if you click on the corner here, it brings all the data types. Okay, if that's not the right data type, you look through and change it. Okay, but at the moment, it's calling it dates and it's correct. Okay, so date is right for other date. For year, it's saying it as whole number. Okay, so we can leave year as whole number in case we need to maybe take away 2022 from 2019 in terms of year duration. Okay, so we can leave that as that. Then other quantity is seen it as a whole number as well. People don't buy half things, so whole number is right. Cost of sales, okay, it's gone on to give cost of sales decimal number, but because it's money, okay, I think we are better off using fixed decimal. And you can see by the side of it, there's a dollar sign. So for money, I mean, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change our calculation. Okay, but we're just using the rights, the most appropriate data type. Okay, again, sales is money here. Okay, decimal number won't affect our work, but let's put it as sales. Profit is also money, so we'll put that as a profit. So that's how to change your data type. If we look through the rest, channel is text, and we can see that is already text ABC. Okay, so that is fine. Product name is text ABC. Manufacturer is text ABC. So we are fine. Brand name text, product subcategory text, product category text, region, city, and country are all text. Okay, so we are fine with the data type. Okay. What else? We may want to see, do we have duplicates? Okay. On the corner here, there's quite a few functions as well on the corner here. So there's always many ways of doing the same function, the same thing within Power BI. That's the beauty of it, okay? If you don't want to do it a certain way, you can do it another way. And you can decide to get used to a particular way of achieving the same result. That's fine. For example, use first row as header. We see it here, but we also see it here. So you can decide to come and pick it from here or from there. It depends on what you want, okay? But I just want to look for and see if we have duplicates within this data set, okay? Do we have duplicates? Say copy entire table That's if you want to copy the table and paste it maybe on Excel, you can copy that from there. Use first row as header. We don't need that function now. Maybe at some other point we will see. Okay. It says keep duplicates. Okay. I want to see if we have duplicates within this entire table. So if I click on keep duplicates, okay, there's no duplicates row. Basically, we don't have duplicate row, because if there were duplicate rows, it would show them here. But this table is empty now. That's my way of checking if any row or record is repeated. So I can testify that none is repeated. I don't have duplicated rows. So I won't be double counting. That's fine. You can also look through each of these columns just to check what you have. You know, it's most of the time it just loads the first 1,000 values. So, and we have about 15,000 rows, okay? But that doesn't disturb our work, okay? And that's just to see in case there's this is not wanting to change to date. Maybe there's somewhere where they put Naira or Kobo or something that's not date. That's your way of checking if there is error within the data. Also, the way we checked for keep duplicates, we can also check for keep errors. Let's see if there's any error. Okay, there's no error. Okay, so again, we are good. So within this this class of this lesson or this class, we've brought in our data. We've seen different data types that there are. We've checked data types within this data set. We've looked at the duplicate and reference function. Okay, we've checked how to see if there's duplicates or errors within your record. What else have we seen? We've seen how to manually refresh here. All of what we have done today are under the home button. Of course, we've seen what's under the file, options and settings, you know, as well. But there's quite a lot to learn. And maybe after this project, we may, because this project may not help us to see the beauty of Power BI at large, we may decide to dedicate maybe a week to actually seeing the many different functions within Power BI. Okay, I'm not going to load this duplicate and reference just yet. So I'm going to right click and click on enable load so that I don't bring them in just yet. Okay, because I'm about to close. I'm going to close and apply this. So in closing and applying, I've closed the Power Query where we were working just now. And I've told it to apply all the changes that we made there and bring it into the actual Power BI. And that's what it has done. It has brought it in. And now we can see by the right-hand side, we can see the table that we loaded. It says computer sales data, okay? Now, one thing we need to do quickly is to save. Power BI does not have auto save. So you save as you go so that you don't lose your work. Okay, so we are going to save this. We save it as, let me save it in desktop. Okay, and we can save it as the name of the, so SoftNet computer sales, okay, dashboard, actually, dashboard. Okay, so it's in desktop and
You spelled that dashboard correctly.
I didn't spell. Okay, I'll go back. That's how I'll be looking for it, and I won't find it because I've spelled nonsense. Dashboard, Benoni. All right, so I think that's all we've got time for tonight. I'm going to pause or stop recording.